Okay, what we do is sometimes there's a little hardness on here at the bottom of the celery. We're going to make vegetable juice. We're going to do. I don't mind the dirt. It's probiotics. All animals eat dirt, and it's part of nature, and it is a healthy thing. If I find, let's say, a damaged area like this, I will cut it out because it can make the juice ferment quickly. And then what we'll do is just break the celery off and put it into a bowl like this. Just so it's enough to go into the shaft of the juicer. Alright, so we prep these. Then with the carrots, I like to cut the ends off. These, where the stem was, the stalks, if you juice this, it causes a lot of bitterness. Not that it's a bad thing, that bitterness is something not very enjoyable. Some people like it, most people don't. So I cut them. Sometimes it can be even hot and very gross tasting. Anyway, what we'll do is cut the ends off of all of them so we don't have that bitter taste. Okay, now you see the dirt all over these beets. I leave it if they're organic. If they're not organic, I wash everything. But everything we have today is organic. The carrots, the celery, the parsley, the cilantro, the beets. The cucumber, don't know. I don't trust them very much. The zucchini, I'll show you how to tell whether they're organic or not. Now, I leave the dirt on these. Everything I do not wash. Now, these have to be small enough to go in that chute. So I will cut the beets in half. Now, beets are excellent for increasing hydrochloric acid in the system. They have the nutrients to help the body, the stomach, build hydrochloric acid to make food small. Now this one I'm cut into 3 pieces instead of 2 to make sure it goes through there. The centerpiece still may be a little fat, so I will chop that even more. So that's ready to go. We'll put those in this this bowl. Put those in this bowl. Now, the way to tell whether either an apple or a pear, cucumber, zucchini is truly organic or not is you take a non-serrated knife, like a paring knife, and you scrape it over the skin. Now you see you have a wax here. There's a wax on the blade. Now take that off into your finger. If that dissolves, it's truly organic, and you see it didn't dissolve. So it's a synthetic wax. This is a petroleum wax on here, and they're lying and taking your money and making us pay a lot of money for it. So what we have to do is we have to peel this because it is not an organic cucumber. Now I have a bruised spot on this cucumber, which I will remove. See the bruise here? That'll cause it to ferment faster. And here's a little bruise here, a little brown coloring. If it were dirt, it wouldn't bother me, but this is bruising. And that will cause the juice to become like vinegar. And I don't want vinegar juice. I will put juice in vinegar sometimes, but I don't want the vegetables to turn into vinegar. Now I have to make this so it will fit through the slot. So I'm going to section this into fourths. There. A little red because of the beet juice. It's okay, colorful. So there we go. Now we're ready to juice the cucumber. Put that in over here, out of the way, in the jar. bowl, and we're going to check the zucchini. Now, is the zucchini truly organic? We don't even have any wax on this, so it's probably organic. So I don't have to peel it. I can just slice it into fourths, make sure it goes through the spout, and that's easy. Okay, this is preparing the green leafies. What I do is I cut the very ends off because they've been pulled away from the root and they get a little browned, and they can also cause the juice to become vinegarish. So I'm just cutting off the very little of the ends because I want those nutrients in the stalks as much as possible. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to put the leafies in, mixed in with the other solid foods. The cucumber and the zucchini will have a tendency to get mushy. The greens have a tendency to get very tight and dry. So we have to mix those things in between the cucumber and the carrots and the celery. So, and we don't want it to get too mushy. So we have to regulate everything. I like to put a carrot through first. And of course, if the carrots are very fat, you're going to have to cut them so they fit in. Now the carrots take more pressure. The fatter they are, the more force you have to apply. Okay, now I've got enough carrot running through there. Now what I do is I'll take a little bit of the parsley and a little bit of the cilantro, and I put them stalk first. Watch what happens when you put them stalk first. They disappear without any effort. If I put them in leaf first, watch what happens. They get stuck. I have to push down, and I have to push down, and I have to push down. So, always from the top. Again, we will vacillate on the ingredients that we put into the juice. Just alternate everything. Now it's time for a piece of cucumber. Now here it's getting mushy in there. So I'm going to put some green in, which will allow it to get drier. You'll see it just disappears. Put a carrot or two in. Now the carrots and the celery we have most of. So of course we're going to put probably 2 carrots at a time. And I've got a bunch of celery stalks here, so I'll put that in all at once. And if it gets a little tight, remember, twist and push. Now it's time for more greens. And what I'm doing is putting 2 bunches of parsley and 2 bunches of cilantro. You see it just disappear. Pretty wonderful. Makes it very easy. And again, we'll put some more. I'll put a little zucchini here, and that will make it mushy too. Let's put this in. Sometimes I will do that. I'll put the pointed end in just to flatten it a bit, and then I turn it upside down. It's easier to push. So we'll go back to a few carrots. And you can juice, like I said in my recipe book, you can juice for 3, 4, even 5 days sometimes. I don't like to keep juice for more than 4 days normally. Sometimes the juice will be so good that it will last 5 days. Sometimes I want some fermented juice just for detoxification purposes. For all that nasty, those nasty cooked vegetables my mother made me eat. Help detoxify that stuff. Because it's the vegetable oils that cause hardening of the arteries and the heart. Medical profession is lying to us again. All the tribes who only eat meats and even cooked do not have any heart disease nor arteriosclerosis. The people who have heart disease and arteriosclerosis are the people who eat vegetable oils, humans who eat vegetable oils, because we're not meant to eat vegetable oils. In the human system, we have a body temperature about 98.6 and lower. Herbivores have 102 to 105. So they have a higher body temperature to keep those fluids, those fats, those oils from crystallizing easily. In us, if we make those oils into parts of a cell, they have a tendency to dehydrate at lower temperatures, even though we're only talking about 5, 6, 7 degrees. The vegetable oils will crystallize and turn into crystals. And that causes hardening of the arteries and the heart and a lot of problems throughout the system. On top of that, if you hydrogenate the vegetable oils, you basically turn them into plastic. And that's how you make plastic. So what you have is trans fatty acids. You have plastic fats. And that's what most of your donuts, your French fries, and all of your fast food places use, is hydrogenated vegetable oils to cook those foods. So you're eating plastic oils that are bound to affect maybe hardening in your system 30%. That's a lot. Okay, since this will be a repeat and everything, we're going to move forward to when the juice is finished. You can see the bowl getting very full with juice. So when we get to that point, so we don't make such a big mess, it's time to pour into a big glass jar. I like to use a big glass jar to do my mixing. Okay, so we'll turn the machine off, take a small jar like this or another bowl, and you put it under here because it will continue to drip. And then we pour into there. Now these pieces of beet are very tough and very hard, so sometimes you have to add a lot of extra force. Again, twist, you don't have to add as much force. When you have a fat piece of celery like this, it's hard to push on this end, so I will push partially through, then remove it, and there I've got a flatter end with a lot more surface space that I can apply force. Usually push it down with the hand first, and then the plunger. And then continue juicing as usual. Now some people's juicers, if they put the celery in stalks like this, the fibers can wrap around the gears and cause it to not juice very well. If you have one of those juicers, then it's best to cut your celery into little pieces like this. Again, if you have the right knife, this is a chef's knife, this is cutting vegetables. See how easily it works. If you have the right tool, work is easy. Now what we do is just put these in here, and sometimes you have to put them a little at a time. There's more effort involved in this but then you won't have to stop and clean your juicer if you have one of those juicers where the fibers collect around the gears. A little bit more work, so don't put too many in at one time, because then they'll get jammed in the shaft. Again, we're going to put other substances through in between, like the leafy greens. And then put the last bit of cucumber in there. Again, hear how mushy that's getting? So we need something more solid to go behind it. So we'll put a couple of beets in there. Again, beets are very hard. So I like to cut them in smaller pieces too. That is twice as hard as a carrot. And if you notice how weak humans are, humans don't eat dirt anymore. It has a lot to do with it. They don't have the probiotics. Dirt is very important. Bacteria is very important. And the industry and medicine, pharmaceutical houses want us to be sick, so they tell us to avoid bacteria. Like I said, for every one human gene, we have 100 to 150 bacterial genes. So we are a lot more bacterial than we are human. And I want to be strong like animals out in nature. I don't want to be weak like most humans are these days. Athletes are rare. Exceptional athletes are rare these days. And bacteria has almost everything to do with it. 95% of all the functions in your body are bacterially instigated and completed. I like pulp from the cucumber and the zucchini. Now, I blend those into the vegetable juice. They are collagen precursors. That's good for the skin, helps connective tissue. So again, we have to peel these, even if they were organic and didn't have the petroleum wax on it like you saw earlier on these cucumbers. Now you see the movement here? You start way in the back. If you start in the mid, you have to cut into the skin. It's not easy. You start back here and you move smoothly in one fell swoop like that. Sure not to get your fingers when that happens. And sometimes you have a little indent and you have to go back and collect it. Sometimes the ends are a little firm, but not too bad. So we'll do this. Even though this is organic, we cannot digest cellulose, or a very minimal amount, maybe about 1% of all the vegetables you eat. You will digest only a certain amount, about 1%, 2% of any raw vegetable that you eat. If you eat them cooked, of course, you're going to absorb a lot more, but then you have a lot of toxins that accompany it from the cooking process. So we're just going to eliminate the cellulose because that'll just disturb digestion. It'll cause alkalinity in the intestine when we have to have acidity in the intestine because of the putrefactive bacteria. Alkaline pulp like this that goes through the system will neutralize the intestinal bacteria and juices, and then we won't digest it very well. So what we do is then we slice this, slices like this. Again, don't have to be too small nor too big. Now if we want to, just so it goes and blends easier, we can cut this down the center like that. Cut these up a little bit. We can cut those a little bit more. So, easier to blend. We're going to do the same thing with the zucchini. What we can do with this one is we'll slice it like this in the center and then divide it. The zucchini isn't as slippery as the cucumber, so it's a little easier to cut it this way. Now what we will do is we have a quart jar. We're going to put zucchini is a little bit tougher, so I want to put those at the bottom. Those will go into the blades last. Cucumber. Now we do this after we finish all the juicing. And you see we have almost a gallon of juice there. We're shy about a cup and a half. Just push them down in there to make room. And then what we will do is we take some of the vegetable juice and we pour it into there. This will make a liquid from which we can blend those easily. And it'll keep out oxygen because we filled it almost to the top. Now we'll put the blender blades on top. Again, the washer goes against the glass and then the metal behind it. Make sure that the washer hasn't fallen down inside, and then screw this on. And always get a feel that the washer is on there evenly when you tighten it. And what we'll do is we will blend it. Now this one we won't have to mix around too much. It's a very heavy jar, but we're going to turn it on high. If you want to preserve it with a little honey and you like a little honey in it, you can add 1 tablespoon per quart. So we have a gallon here, so you could put 4 tablespoons at this stage if you want to. Now we've got all this pulp in here. And we're going to mix it with all the rest of the juice. There we go. We have our almost a full gallon. What we'll do is we'll mix that and we're going to put it in smaller jars. Okay, now what we'll do is put the lid on here and shake this so that the pulp moves throughout the juice. And I would do this pretty quickly because the pulp will rise to the top frequently. So this way we keep it moving. I put it back in these because we're going to fill these jars with juice. If you're a larger person, you have that much juice at one time of the day, and you fill them almost all the way to the very top. See the foam up there, and then you refill it again. And we have a little 4-ounce jelly jar here, so we'll fill that. Some people only need 4 ounces of juice at a time. This is a 12-ounce. Again, almost to the very top. And this is an 8-ounce. Okay, now, if I put the lid on these, they're going to spill over. So, I take the foam bubbles off of the top. I don't worry about bacteria, it's good. It's the bacteria I want. Again, before you get it too tight, I'm going to push down on the lid, get more air out, because it'll take a good teaspoon more of air out of it, and that's sealed nicely. And here we have a lot of foam on the top. Now it's not quite full enough, so we'll fill it a little bit more. There we go. That's just about right. Put the lid on. Again, slightly push and turn tightly. Now sometimes when you do that, some of the juice will pour out the side because we've gotten all the air out of it. And here's the 4 ounce. And that's pretty good. A little low, so put a little bit more in. Not much foam to it. So put that down in there like that. And there we have it. Now we put these in the refrigerator, and for the amount of juice that we need at a particular time of the day, it's all available and ready. And you do that with all of it. So that should be 4 to 5 days, 3 to 5 days of your vegetable juice. If you do it right like this, it will last at least 4 days. Some people like it very fresh tasting, so 3 days may be maximum for them. I will take it 4 to 5. Okay?